totally an accident. This is I suppose it's an entertainment, isn't it? Because everything's an entertainment, pleasure and entertainment. Got to have that kind of thing in your life, haven't you? But so this copyright thing, because everything's copywritten, can't go like the Olympic. You remember the Olympics? Oh, the fabulous Olympics. Permanent adversarial culture. Oh, we've had the Olympics, anyway. We had the Olympics, and there was the thing, wasn't there, at the time, about the 5 rings of the Olympic rings, and you couldn't use that image. Anyone caught using that image, there's a big hoo-ha about it, wasn't it? We can't use that image, that belongs to us. Does it? Indeedy, right. So everybody owns something. Well, sorry, everything there is owned by somebody, especially the more valuable stuff. That's a bit worrying in a way, because then if those people who control the supply of those things make those things scarce, they can charge more money for them. Yeah, I mean, I trust these people not to do that. It's about as far as I could boot them down up a hill, I think. I don't trust them at all. So because everything's copywritten, so everything I'm saying, every word I'm saying to you now has kind of been taught to me. So my parents could claim that they've taught me that. Everything that Robert Ross says is copywritten by my mum and dad. They own it all. Do you know what I mean? So you could I think we should all do that. We should all copyright everything that we teach our children. So everything they use in later life, when it's isn't it about time you sort of took your mum and dad out for a meal? About time you took me out for curry, isn't it? Or for a pint, Oh, I can't do that. Well, you ought to. Because don't forget, I own the copyright on everything you know. So all the money you're out earning now, technically, at least part of that, I'll accept a small royalty. We can maybe live like that. That'd be a great idea. Because that's kind of totally consistent with this world we live in, isn't it? With the fact that something's actually grown out of the ground. I'm not talking about cannabis here. I mean, just food. The fact that food grows out of the ground. Somebody owns that. As opposed to it's there for everybody to use. I can't even remember that was being taught that at Sunday school. Everything that's on this planet Earth, God has put it here for us to use. Oh, really? No, actually, well, God might have done that, but he's been kind of half-inched on the way. God's never any good with money, was he, after all? Look, Jesus screwed that one up himself, didn't he? Threw the money men out the temple. In fact, when you think about that, that's the first proactive thing that Jesus actually did in the Bible, was throw the money men out the temple. I'll rest my case right there, in fact, because as far as believers and people of faith, who I have respect for, I don't know if I respect their rationale, to be honest. How they got to that. I can't respect that, because I think any thinking person might come to a different conclusion. They'd probably sit back and think, well, because there's not really any evidence there. Not really. And these kind of coincidences. I'll tell you what happened to me today. About 2:10 as well, what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened to me at that time. Nothing happened to me at all. And I saw this number plate today, GU04VPC. I mean, what are the chances of me seeing that, eh? Must be millions and billions. Do you know what I mean? All that stuff is coincidence. It's just all bollocks. I mean, you can see a connection anywhere if you look hard enough. It's what pareidolia is. With the thing of seeing people's faces in your tea leaves and stuff. That's what that is. It's pattern recognition. We do it, Anyway, so I'm going to copyright. I wish I had done this. I mean, basically, what you do when you're a parent, you see, is you don't get to copyright everything your children do. So it can't be nicked by anyone, particularly governments and things like that. And say, well, I own copyright to that, so I'm afraid you can't use that. So that's already spoken for. Spoken by. Can't have that. No, you can't have that. I was also thinking today, I was going to go on to something else, but I'm going to change tact now and talk about our floating sisters that are out here. Because parking up the van somewhere when it's very dark outside, particularly when there's no moon, on a new moon. So the stars are just brilliant. But we're expanding. The whole universe is moving far and far further away. So there's going to come a time when you look up there, we're still going to see stars, because we'll see our Milky Way, as it used to be called, our galaxy. We'll see that because we're kind of with that. We're in our local group of galaxies, basically. But everything else that's out there, all these nebulae that are out there, which are another galaxies that look like gas clouds, and it was Immanuel Kant. So I've got to be careful when you say that word. Immanuel Kant from 1650, I think it was, who said, well, all those nebulae out there, because they thought they were things of gas. That's what they thought they were. So there were stars and gas and nothing. That's what there was out there in those days. That's what they thought. Well, he basically said, well, maybe it's not that. Maybe those gassy bits are actually other galaxies, but they're lots further distant. So therefore they look like gas when they're not. There's thousands and billions of stars there. Well, it turns out he was bang on. Took 250 years for him to get there, by the way, but, you know, that happens a lot in science. And the guy Boltzmann, who came up with entropy, you know, this thing that there's more and more chaos, kind of chaos theory, which they sort of hijacked it in Jurassic Park and called it chaos theory, and Jeff Goldblum, blah, 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 did the part, didn't he? But the guy who actually came up with that, guy called Boltzmann, I think he was a German, but I've done all that against him. Because he was really persecuted for coming up with that, and everyone ridiculed him. Now it's accepted science. It's proven that he was fucking bang on. Absolutely bang on. He ended up committing suicide because of all the, I don't know what you'd call it actually. What would you call it? I'd call it jealousy personally, but there's other names that people might come up with for it. You know, vitriol, vendetta, all that kind of stuff maybe. Two things begin with V. Blimey, that's almost alliterative, isn't it? Whatever they were, two V's together. Very, put very at the front as well. They make it even more alliterative. Anyway, so, but as time goes on, as the expansion carries on, the thing is this, that when, like now, when you look up there, we can still see them. So we're kind of, there's lots of people around who believe that we're living in a really good time at the moment, because when you do look out there, and we can see. And I've heard it sort of in an analogy of this, explaining this, which really worked for me, which was the Empire State Building. Let's say it's 100 stories high, great big tall building, 100 stories high. Okay, and the top is where we are now, and at the bottom is like the Big Bang when it all started, kind of thing. So a long way down. Well, up until like the 70s and the 80s, the furthest back we could see was like the 60th floor. That's how far down we could see. We could see to the 60th floor. Okay, and then we figured out what quasars were, and then that meant we could see down to the 20th floor. In about 1965, when sort of Penzias and Wilson, I think it was, who discovered didn't know what they were looking for, weren't even looking for it, didn't realise what it was when they found it. But they found the remnants, you know, the radiation from the Big Bang. They discovered that, and they won the Nobel Prize because of it, even though they had no idea what it was. The fact that I've read that it was they only realised what they'd found when they read about it in the New York Times, which I thought was quite good. But they took our acquaintance of everything that has happened down to within a quarter of an inch of the pavement. So that's 100 stories, 60 stories, 40 stories, quarter of an inch from the pavement. That's how close they've got now. And that's been proven not only by observation, but it's been proven mathematically. They can prove it mathematically, and they can prove back to now, just back a little bit further from there. Because that was, apparently that wasn't at the beginning. It was 380,000 years after the beginning. The lights got out. It's a bit like the photons of the sun take 1 million years to get here. They take 8 minutes to get here from the sun. That's all they take. But to get from the middle of the sun out to the edge of the sun, so they can take this 8-minute sprint down to Earth, in effect, that's what they do, takes them 1 million years to get out of the sun. Wow. Think that through, eh? And that's more or less what's going on in the Big Bang. Scary stuff, that is, isn't it? But all this stuff's here, all around us now. To me, the other thing, the main bit about all that for me, is that everything, all that stuff that's out there, and everything that's in my van, and you, and everything that's in wherever you are now in your room, like your desk, your computer, it's all the same stuff, basically. It's all the particles and atoms and things, and it's all the same stuff. It's the same as us. We are it, and it is us. That's what we're made of. That's what we are. So, first of all, there's nothing to be frightened of. There's no design in that at all. Or there might be. I guess you can't argue that one or not. But you need to have some serious evidence to make you think that, well, there might be some design there. I mean, I don't mean coincidental evidence. I mean fucking evidence, you know. Quarter of an inch to the pavement. So for me, faith, that kind of thing, they don't go far enough. And I have discussions with my best buddy's a really interesting guy in the sense of what he does, because he keeps children alive. I've talked about him on other things, a thing called Little Angels, which is just one of the many things that he does. But I have talks with him, and I have to sort of, because I co-write music with them, Christian songs and whatever. But I kind of try my hardest to keep it lyrically as benign as possible, if you know where I'm coming from there. Although the attended audiences are Christians, but I'll tell them they didn't go far enough. In fact, we invited this guy to come and sing, who was absolutely phenomenal. One of the best male vocal recording sessions I've ever done, ever. And I'm not being funny, but I've recorded quite a few, and quite a few people whose name you might recognise. But this guy, who lives in Portsmouth, basically, is absolutely staggering. And he's a man of faith. You know, attractive guy, brilliant singer, brilliant voice, and agreed kindly to come and sing, completely free, on the track, couple of the tracks I've done with my best buddy for this this thing we're doing, which I'm going to put links in the description below. Okay, feel free to go there, and you may not even got through to this part of the tape, but thank you for doing that. But I said to this gentleman, Olu, I said to him, because we talked about, we had a tea break and stuff, and talked about it, and I basically said to him, I don't think you go far enough in your beliefs. I don't think you do. And I explained to him that this thing about being the same as everything that's out there, and actually realising that. So when you think about that, we are the universe, if you like, and everything that's out there is us and we are it, kind of thing. If that's the case, because it certainly seems like it is, then that by definition means that we as humans are the opportunity for the universe, or everything there is out there, to know itself, to really truly understand where it came from, how, and who cares if there's a why, but how. That's what we should be looking for, I think. How did that happen then? How does it get from there to there? What happens there? So people like Richard Feynman come in to the equation, and your Albert Einsteins, they turn around and say, well, that sort of perceived kind of wisdom about how things are, maybe that's not actually how it is, and things aren't like that. They're like something else which I've come up with. And I'm going to get a Feynman diagram on the van somewhere, and I'm also going to get some, I'm going to sign off because I'm going to keep this under 15 minutes. It's just coming up to there now. So thank you both again for watching, and I hope I got to the end of a couple of things rather than tangentially went off into my abysses and oblivions. Good name for someone, that, isn't it? All right, Bliv. Yeah, Oblivion, that is, yeah. Do you mean, what, Oblivion? I started, no. Anyway, don't know where I got to that bit from. I'm not editing anything out, so I'm not going to do anything like that. Talked about priests earlier, and whether, don't have a lot. It bothers me. Anyway, the night. I'm going to turn the lights out. Here we go, look, lights out. It's BBC. Light in. Yeah, could you turn the lights, please? The night.